What is up, everyone, and welcome to Mark Talk Sport. And today we're going to be discussing the announcement that happened today of Reading's 6 points deduction, what it means to the club, what the EFL have said. We're going to break down both of the statements, plus the findings of the independent financial person that did the conductions of it, what they have said, and what this could mean for the club. In this video, I'm going to be looking up a lot. Where I'm going to be reading things off of sections. So hopefully you guys will be all right with that. We're going to get into it straight away and let's see what this means to the club and what it means moving forward. Let's go. Right, and welcome. This is a little bit of what I did a little bit differently to the intro, but what I wanted to do was to do something a little bit different after I recorded that. So basically, what I'm doing in this video is screen sharing the everything that's happened over the past few hours of after the EFL announcement, and we're going to go through that individually, talking about what Bowen has said, what the club have said, what the EFL have said, and the company that uh, delivered the points deduction. We will go through that as well. At the end, I will give my brief overview of what I think is the issue, what could have been the issue, and who I think the person is to blame from this. And then tomorrow we will be doing our build up to the Birmingham game on the Good Friday. So this is going to be a little bit of a different video. I haven't done any of this before, so it may take some time for me to get used to how to do this and if this is going to be working. So please stay with me, join with me, and let's try this together. If it doesn't work, then I'll try something else next time. But this is all about testing phase and trying to give the best experience I can to the fans and everything, to everyone out there that wants to know more, and a little breakdown as well of it going forward. I'm not the most intelligent person. I'm not the person that's going to go through every single in detail about this and say, this is what this is. I'm just going to do a brief overview and let you guys come to the assumption of what you guys think and what we could do as a club, as a person, to the club moving forward. So let's get into it. Right, let's go through. As you can see here on the screen, you can see the club statement. So let's sort of briefly go through that and what the club have said of that as well. So they have accepted the second 6 point after failing to fully satisfy the business plan in a historical breach of the EFL's profit and sustainability limits. So one of the things that I want to talk about is this paragraph here. So at the time, the club's original breach, it was agreed with the league with this further 6 point penalty was due to be applied if the club could not meet the demands of an agreed business plan for the 2022-23. And as radical changes implemented at the first team level right across the structure of the business on its core, and the right here to adhere to the strict league monitored wage structure and transfer embargo, the club is accepted as not significantly satisfy the certain criteria. With that, you'll see a little bit later on in Bowen's comments that we'll go through with that as well, that he's basically, the club are basically saying that the person that did the business plan made it a bit too ridiculous for the sale of the players and what they were going through. When they did it back in November, they vowed to have the lessons to be learned and strides which have been made significant. So yeah, it is. They are saying that they have made massive strides, and if you look at the wage budget and the agent fees, which the club have announced today, that they are lower than Stockport in how much we've paid for agent fees, is pretty brilliant compared to, I think it was Burnley, Watford, and other clubs that paid up to almost £4 million for them. One of the things that's I found as well, in a bid to the EFL, we have not spent a penny on transfers fees since the summer of 2020 and have not paid a loan fee to any club since the summer of 2019. Our squad is entirely built from free transfers, free loanees, and academy graduates, which, to be fair, is very rare you get these days. I think Sunderland are paying 50% of Diallo's contract. Could be completely wrong. This is what I've read somewhere. and he's at Man United, so you know he's going to have a long wage with that. Long wage, big wage. My words are just not coming out whatsoever. So the next one is the progress made has been recognised. It has been agreed with the EFL that the club's restrictive embargo status will effectively end this summer, and the club will, for the first time in years, be able to act sensibly in the transfer market within the budget currently being revised by the club's financial review unit and complaint profits and sustainability boundaries, but free of restriction limitations which have proven problematic in trying to piece together a team capable of challenging in the championship and the squad task we've taken the club towards a brighter, more sustainable future. If you can look at this one of two ways, if you're looking at this as a player, you're going to be going, then why have you brought me to the club if you don't think that I'm going to be able to help with this club? You could look at that one way or another way is we're going to be free, but we're also going to have to work in the club financial review unit and the profit sustainability boundaries, which is a good thing because I don't think the club actually understood that in the past of what to do and how they're meant to do it. And Bowen's got the task of trying to sort of stay within that and get it, and we will not have the restrictions of the EFL telling us what to do, what we can do, where we do. But the most important part here is, however, in here we find ourselves with another huge fight. The part we played in the last run-in should not be understated, and our fan support once more. We know you are loyal supporters. We rise to the challenge again and give the group of players the impetus they need to scrap for the battle. So basically, they're saying they've seen all of the people online talking about protests and taking the situation further. Is don't do that. Calm down. We need to fight for the next 7 games. As you can see here, we've got Birmingham, Preston, Burnley, Luton, Coventry, Wigan, and then Huddersfield, as you can see here. So the club can do that. I'm 100% believing what they said is right. So, right, let's pause this, and let's get into the next part of this. Right, we are now with the sports resolution. They are the people that are the independent adjudicators, and they are the panel that review it all to make the decision on it. So here is the statement and the decision that they have come to in full. As you can see here, I'm just going to read some of it, and then you guys can read it. Pause the video at any point. If you see it and you feel like that you want to read a bit more, I will go scroll down slowly so you guys can pause at any time and review it, read it, come to your judgment of what you've seen. So in the introduction, it says on 16th of November 2021, the EFL and Reading FC reached a decision in respect to of its failure to comply with the EFL's profit and sustainability rules. The decision was agreed the following club would exceed the upper loss threshold of 39 million in the profit sustainability assignment of period by a total of 18.8 million. So they need to lose of a loss of 57.8. So they said that the 6-point deduction and should be applied. A failure to agree to it. The suspension penalty was stated in addition to any further penalties imposed in the respect of further breaches of profit sustainability of any breaches of the agreed budget. You can pause this point as well if you want to do. So this is one of the main talking points we can see here. In October 2022, the club confirmed its intention that instead of achieving the foremost profit through player sales, it would extend it through the sale of the investment it held to the related party. The sale proposed transaction would generate profit to replace the profit the club has failed to be making. So basically what that's saying is they couldn't reach the player sales, so they tried to do it into investment and the club would pay it off, which would then mean that they would meet or reach the profit sales that they were looking for. Without the profit from the preceding transaction, the loss would mean the upper loss threshold of 39 million for the assessment period of 2019 and 2020 to the season of 2022 to 2023. So basically saying that we needed to get that down to 18 million by what I'm reading. If anyone else can clarify that in the comments, to let me know if I've read that wrong, then please let me know. then I will be able to rectify that. But it's saying that we were meant to get rid of £39 million of the threshold, and we never did it. So as you can see here, a little bit more of it. I'm reading it for the first time with you guys as well, so just checking to see if there's anything that we need to look at. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. Busy existence. No, let's go down. I'm slowly going so you guys will be able to read it as well. This is another bit. I am happy to confirm that our understanding as well. That was from the club. What it says here is we note the club is content to accept the points deduction. We also note that the proposed transaction is not challenged, save for fair market value aspect of the EFL financial fair play rules, excluding profits and sales of tangible fixed assets. So basically, they're trying to break down all of that long paragraph and to say, yep, the club agreed to it. They know they couldn't match it. So this is the one thing we looked at when we looked at the Reading statement that we didn't see is the below paragraph that I sort of skimmed over a little bit when I was trying to find it for doing this video. The club and the CFRL agree a new budget for the 2023-24 within 30 days of the RFRU compelling its review of the club's submissions. The club have never said that we are going in another embargo. I think what they're trying to say in this below paragraph from what I've read is that the club have to agree or to see or show the football club what they need to do. So what I found with that last statement and everything is that they agree to what they have said, and they're going to give Reading the show them how much they need to either sell players for or how much money they need to make for how much money they can bring in. So it's going to give them a brief overview, and then the club will then have to work towards that or over that to make it more sustainable for the football club moving forward. Which is a good idea, which just sort of helps the club if there's any issue. But we're going to go into Mark Bowen's statement as well before we go into something else as well. Let's have a look at this. Right, we are now going to look at the EFL statement for the points deduction. The EFL have notified this will apply to the sanction with immediate effect. Basically, I'm going to scroll through this slowly because it is basically the same thing as what we just read before, but they've just gone a little bit more EFL type detail on this. And they're basically saying that everything's been done. They've also given a new budget with the independent for the 2023 season aimed at ensuring compliance with the regulations will be finalised once the club's full P&S review has been completed for the current season. So once the current season the financial review is done, they will give us a review of what we need to stick by or what we need to get to or what we can do, but they're looking at it. But there's nothing that they can do because we will not be under embargo. They could just look at it and give us a warning and go back through the process again. But they're just giving us a review and trying to help us move forward. I don't know if I've gone through this too quickly, but please pause the video at any point if you think that I've gone through this a bit too quickly at any point. So, yeah. Right, we're going into one of the most important factors of this whole thing is we've all protested last year. I didn't. I thought it was ridiculous. But the people that did protest, one of the things that they wanted for was more transparency within the club about what they thought the club needed to do moving forward and what they're going to do in the future. So Mark Bowen has done a statement. I'm scrolling back up because I read it already and I wanted to go through some of the most important parts of it. But what I'm going to do with this letter as well is, if you haven't read it already, go and check it on the website. If not, I'm going to scroll through this very, very slowly. So you guys will be able to pause it at any point, read it, or go through it at any points that you want to. So let's get into Mr. Bowen's statement and what he has said moving forward. Right, so let's get into this, shall we? Let's have a look at what he said and what he thinks is going to. This is a very, very long statement. This is a lot of things that he wants to go through and what he said. So I'm going to skip most of the things he's been saying, and sort of pick apart little bits and pieces of what he is saying and see what he's doing. So this is the most important. When I arrived back in the club in last March, I made a pledge to myself to be as transparent as possible, and he has. He has said that when he come back, and anything that he's done with any of the open days. I think he did one with Star, and he sat down with a load of fans who asked a lot of questions, and he went through it and was open as much as he possibly could. And basically what he's saying is, however, I understand that at times it's not possible, and throughout the Championship season, specifically during difficult period when we have been back and forth in regular conversations with the EFL, we have been governed by the EFL and what we're able to communicate, and now it's the time to bring up to speed. So basically what he's saying is during all of this time of going through anything, the EFL told him that he can't say this, he can say that, he can't do this, he can do that, so that it, he trying to make himself to sound like he's the one that is not stopping from giving the fans what they want to hear. Um, so let's have a look. So this is a big part of player recruitment that he talked about. As we all know, we have been under the embargo. Every single one we've done is abide by the rules of the EFL. So he's saying that any player that we brought in through the free or the loans have to be approved by the EFL. So as he says here, first up, we haven't been able to pay any transfer fees or any loan fees or any compensation fees for any players. And people I know within the game come to me recommending young players all the time. People who I've often thought would be a great addition to this club, but to bring them in would require a small compensation fee. As a club, we cannot simply apply to do that, and paying any sort of fees is just not possible. Then if we did identify a player that didn't require a fee, we had to persuade them and their agent of the football club to be placed here. We contacted the player's agent to speak to the player, and I have to be honest, and everyone open I have spoken to, explaining what type of contract we can offer them and what sort of percentage the agent would be settled to help with the club, would be heavily influenced by the agents, and some clubs were paying agents 10 to 15% when a deal was struck. We had limited to 3%, which is a massive tell. And if you go on the Reading FC website, you'll be able to see that they have said that certain things they were able to do, certain things they weren't able to do through that. So it is quite telling that they are ranked bottom of the agent fees and loan fees and everything that they did. So next, if we were overcome two hurdles, there was a wage we can offer. We had to both to limit to comply with the advanced here. We had to assemble a squad with a capped wage bill agreed in the previous business plan, not allowing to pay above a certain wage to a player, an average well below what the majority of championship clubs are paying. The wage had to include everything: agent fees, accommodation fees, performance fees, bonus, blah blah blah. If we want to go above the average wage in assigning a player, the next player we brought into the 25-man squad had to be at the right level below to balance it out. So if they paid X number for a certain player above it, the next player that they had to sign in had to be well below it. So it balanced itself out overall. After all the boxes were ticked to proposed deal, we had to submit for approval, and there were subject to ratification for the EFL. So everything they said here is just everything they had to do had to go through the EFL. The contract, our club secretary Sue Hewitt, I think that's how you say it, has been here a very long time, and thankfully she's not only very good at her job, but she's an incredibly patient person, and I relied on her for her guidance a lot. It looks like one of those things where it was just everyone had to try and work together, and that was one of the big things the club were talking about before. Everyone had to pull together. So in compliance to trying to root players, we had to be looking at a very, very small window. Without disrespect to the players we have this season, this is the one thing that could be taken either way. We couldn't rely on targeted players in their prime, aged between 24 and 28. So that's what we're thinking the club structure is going forward. If anyone says who the club are targeting, what is their transfer structure, it's going to be players between that, 24 and 28. or we could try and recruit players towards the back end of their careers, like Shane Long, who had offers coming through, but his affiliation with the club and the family nearby made him want to stay. We already knew in terms of recruitment that this year we're going to be treading water. In actual fact, that it's been like treading in quicksand. I think that's probably the right way of putting it. But here's the point where we need to start looking at, yes, this is negative. Yes, this is horrible. This is terrible. But I think we need to look at this. In some of the key recruitment changes, I was lucky to bring in Brian Carey. After 6 years at Tottenham, shame about the club. He had numerous other offers, and I brought him to magnify training ground, to our magnificent training ground. I basically tried to sell him at the club and the journey. It was a blank sheet of paper, and I was trying to tell him what we looked to try and build for the future, and we brought into the challenge. Then there, 3 months ago, Jared Dublin to join us, who plays a significant part in development of the current squad at Sheffield United. Brian had brought in a few people as part of the network, but we're still in the embargo stages of trying to get significant recruitment. What I can tell from this is he's given what the club did poorly over the years and what he couldn't do and what we tried to do, and then give a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. What the club is trying to do for the future is what we've been looking for as a football club moving forward. Is what is the club going to be doing moving forward to try and get the best out of these players. We have put together a squad very strong last summer that was competitive and ideally push us up the table, primarily compete to us in this division. Then aim was to get free of the embargo, embrace the opportunity to go forward and build something. The recruitment of players has been a top priority, and being free of many restrictions will make a major, huge difference next season, thanks to the part of the structure now. So basically, he's looking forward to next season, where we'll be able to bring players in that will be able to help us here. So here's the thing that I took when I read this the first time, this paragraph here. He is deflecting blame from himself. Rightly so. I don't think he's in the wrong, my personal opinion. He's basically deflecting blame from himself. I'm not going to read all the way through it, but he's basically saying that the people that put the 6 points and the agreement last season didn't really have a clue of how much they said. They basically put a lot of money into saying we're going to sell a lot of players when realistically we weren't. Then he tries to work it back by saying Brian Stabler and De Jong and myself have been able to ensure the business plan meets its criteria moving forward. It is time for them to consider this and come back with a ruling. So basically, they want the club to come back with the board that we talked to before to come back with a ruling. We must be sensible and we must stick to the budget governed by the EFL and every decision to make that we do moving forward. This is when he goes on a rant about the statement or the leak that we were going to get a 6-point deduction before the club even heard about it. He said it frustrated me with the club. It goes, I don't go on social media much, but naturally it's important in my role to gauge the mood of the fans. I felt that the supporters were generally felt good about the club beginning to get its house in order, and we were. At the start of the season, seeing the appointments that I felt, I don't want to say we to a point, but the gauge that I found as well was we were happy with the club actually appointing people in positions that we needed for the club to move forward. And then he was unhappy that the rumoured of the 6-point penalty, and suddenly a lot of fans were saying, same old Reading, same old rubbish. I don't think he could use the proper word instead of rubbish. But I get it. And it made me both angry and sad because I know that this is not the same old Reading that it was a year or more ago. And he's right. This is not the same Reading it was a year or more ago. It's completely different. New people in told. We are building a lot of bridges, putting a huge amount of work into the strategy to create an elite environment, and we're in a much better place compared to 3 years ago. Lucas João, who will not be here next season. I can guarantee that now. He goes, actions speak louder than words. We know that. He knows that there's going to be backlash to this, but our short-term aim is to stay in the league. We've got 7 games to go. Completely correct. The points deductions happen now. Everything's gone on. We know what's happened. We need to change. Long-term will change. We need to get through this season. We've got 7 games. I predicted that we would need 3 wins from the last 7 to stay up. Mostly at home. We ain't going to win away. but we need to. It goes, the strategy has no filter into our academy, which means attracting young players with other clubs will then want to buy for a large sum. So he's basically saying we need to attract great academy players that we know in the future will be able to say, like on Michael Elise, for example, if we're going to go back years ago, like we did with Shane Long, Gylfi Sigurdsson. Yeah. Still not proven guilty. Yeah. And other players like that. But he was also said that he's disappointed. Please read through. I'm going slowly down so you can pause at any time. When we lost our academy, category 1 status, and Eamon Dolan and the legacy of Eamon Dolan, but they have had the auditors through in the past few weeks. They have been there for a week to look at how we've been training the players, what we've been doing, and hopefully very soon in the last 6 to 8 months are back to the club, and all fingers crossed. So hopefully we hear that. So our owner, no one really hears about him. No one wants to talk about him. He won't do anything. This is why Bowen is doing what he's doing, because we're not going to hear anything. He's saying Mr. Dyer is a private person and not one for speaking through media, but his financial support has been relentless for the club. Unlike fans at some other club, no royal supporter can throw criticism at Owen for not supporting the club financially. True. He keeps putting money into his ambition and hasn't changed it, and wanted to take the club into the top flight. And if we could continue to develop our strong strategy, I'm sure his support for the club will grow further. We've got a good stadium, got a fantastic training ground, and married to an owner who cares and wants to support us, the ingredients we are to take us forward. Absolutely right. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not against the owner. I'm not anything. I've got to a point where I accept the fact I'm never going to hear from him. Don't care about hearing from him, but we need to hear from someone. And if Bowen's the person that has to be the line between the fans and the owner, then let Bowen do it as much as we want, and we want to know that he cares. Says here he cares. Says he wants to push forward. It may be smoke up his own ass to try and blind the fact. Who knows? But what we could do is we could take everything face value and what we're seeing in front of us. So the message to you, fans first and foremost, about what happens on the pitch. Secondly, they want to see the club being run in the right way. I've touched on the recruitment department and academy, but there is a lot of other people doing great work, good work, things away from the coral face of the football club to making us more environmentally sustainable, running community programs within the trust, or simply making the grass grow outside on the training pitches every day. We still got a lot to do. We're not pretending we're in a finished article, but process is being made that the seeds, intended, are there for us to push forward next season and beyond. Everyone from the fans to the staff to the players is emotionally tied in this sometimes frustrating football club. I have been here as a player a bit, just for one game, technical director, managing sporting director, and now head of football operations. I know this amazing football club, and this can be. If I ask you to be patient, this is basically for those people. He's seen on social media the fans for the protest. To come back and be patient. I understand that we have a huge challenge short term. I'm trying to stay in this league. We need your support and to be successful. So yes, so that's basically what he's saying. I did think that I just paused the recording, but I didn't. There you go. So yeah, so that's what he's trying to say, and that's what he thinks is going to happen to the club moving forward. So my overall view of everything that we've gone through and everything that we've read, the club's going in a better position. The club right now, to put a better term, is currently fucked. But what we can see, and what Bowen is right, is what he's doing for the steps moving forward and what we can expect the club to do moving forward, which is he's put the people in place for when this embargo eventually goes, which is the summer, we will then be able to pick it up, take it with the ball, and do what we need to do within restrictions of the profit and sustainability. The person that I blame the most are the people that made the agreement for the EFL sustainability because of the sale of players. They either overestimated, which it looks like, the amount of money we will make from player sales. Either they think they will be able to sell Lucas João, Yaku Mate, maybe because they're going to be in their final years of the contract, Liam Moore because it's the highest earner and needs to get off the wage bill. They didn't. I think when they made that the 6-point deduction, they didn't know that Liam Moore would be injured basically for a year. He's played 2 games. and he hasn't finished 90 minutes of those games. And George Puskas, they're hoping that George Puskas has an absolute fantastic season, because when he's going to be, I think he might be this final year of his contract when he comes back. I'm not 100% sure. Someone please tell me that in the comments. And when they come back, that they'll be able to sell him either for at least £3 million, which will help the club going forward and to take his wage off the bill as well. What do I see this club moving forward? I think we're in good hands with Mark Bowen. I think he's doing the right thing going forward. He hasn't done anything to me yet to say that he isn't. The fans are now blaming him, saying he's the one. He wasn't here for when the sustainability or when the agreement was reached for it to move forward. So I have no blame of him whatsoever. Mr. Dye needs to take a lot of blame for this, but he needs to also, same time, it's very much like you could be pissed at him, but at the same time respect what he's tried to do, but be pissed at him. And Da Young Pang as well needs to take quite a lot of the blame, because it sounds like he was the one that actually finalised the agreement, and he's the one that if the club are going to be really pissed at someone, it has to be him, because he's put us into this situation that has not helped us whatsoever. So yes, so that's my own thoughts. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know how you feel and what you thought about this situation. And what we'll do is we'll have a little debate in the comments if you want, and have a little chat. And then tomorrow we will be doing our build to the Birmingham game on Good Friday, where we're going to need every support we can get for that game. So, and we will go through the form of both teams, home and away, of what we're going to look at them. I'm going to go through predictions I will put out on Twitter tomorrow morning, what your predictions are for the game, and then we will go through that. As Gareth was the only one who got it right last time, I'm hoping he doesn't get it right, because he's been insufferable ever since then, going on about it. So thank you guys ever so much for watching. Thank you guys ever so much for joining. Don't forget, on my other YouTube channel, Mark Talks Wrestling, I have done a full week of wrestling content. All WrestleMania week and the Raw After Mania, everything is on that channel. Don't forget to go check that out if you are a wrestling fan, or just go and support it. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Click that bell, and I will see you guys tomorrow.